washing at a professional car wash. But if you wash at home, divert wash water to an area where it can soak into the ground, like a planter strip. Also, empty your bucket of dirty wash water in a sink. The wash water will make its way to the treatment plant, where it is cleaned. You probably know how to pick up your pet's poop when you are out on a walk. After all, it's the neighborly thing to do. But what about the pet waste in your backyard? Pick it up regularly, and especially before rain or irrigation water washes any of it into a backyard drain. Your pet's poo is full of bacteria and nutrients that can contaminate our creeks. Scoop the poo, bag it, and put it in your garbage. When tending to your yard or garden, check the weather and prevent over-irrigation. Runoff of fertilizer, herbicides, landscape materials, compost piles, and leaf debris pollute our creeks. Remember, timing is everything. Pick up any litter or trash that may get into the streets. If you grab it before water or wind arrives, it doesn't have a chance of ending up in our creeks. It's up to each of us to take care of our creeks and rivers. They're ours to protect. Find out more at streetstocreeks.org.
Going to call the Mendocino Council of Governments meeting to order on at 1:31 on April 6th, 2026. Hey, could we have a roll call, please?
Director Raffinen,
Here.
Director Mulheron,
Here.
Director Alanis,
Here.
Director Hansen, Director Chris,
Here.
Chair Hashak,
Here.
Tasha Alstrand,
Here.
thank you.
All right. Very good. And there are no requests for Assembly Bill 2449, no notifications and considerations. Okay, with item 3, the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. Okay, I'm going to turn it to the Executive Director, Julie Barrett.
All right, thank you. I will hand this over to James Sookney in just a minute to give an update on this. But before we move on to that, I want to just make a quick staffing announcement. So since our February board meeting, as you all know, Janet Orff, longtime deputy director, has retired from full-time work at the beginning of January. Since our last meeting, Michael Villa has been promoted and is in that position now. And then we have a new administrative assistant, Julie St. Pierre, who is clerking the meeting today. So Welcome to Julie. Congratulations to Michael. All right. On to item 3. We did get word late on Friday from the State Department of Housing and Community Development that they have requested additional changes on our RENA methodology, and so we won't be able to take action on this item today, but James will give a quick update.
Good afternoon. So as Nafili said, we received a letter from HCD. They outlined how the methodology did or did not address the 5 objectives that are mandated by the state. There were 2 that they felt the methodology did not, and so I've come up with a plan that I think will be successful to address both of those based on some information in their letter. And so we are meeting with them tomorrow. I have some rough numbers already drafted that I'm going to send out to the local agencies later today because it will adjust their allocations a little bit. And then based on tomorrow's meeting, I'm hoping that I can then just revise the narrative to reflect these changes, submit it to them, and hopefully have them approve it in 2 to 3 weeks in time for the May board meeting. So, any questions?
Seeing none, thank you. So that will come back on item 11 also. We'll have to deal with that.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we will convene as the Regional Transportation Planning Agency. We will recess as RTPA and reconvene as a Policy Advisory Committee. Okay, so we have the consent calendar. And Ms. Barrett?
Yes, just one quick update on the consent calendar items. We are aware of a correction on page 1 of the minutes where we need to correct the nominations for vice chair to read Director Chris rather than Director Carter. So that correction has been noted and will be included in the approved minutes.
Okay. Are there any other items to be pulled from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. Okay, is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none. Any online? Okay, we're looking for a motion.
I'll move the recommended action. Yeah.
All right. So let's do a roll call vote.
Director Raffinen,
Yes.
Director Mulhern,
Yes.
Director Alanis,
Yes.
Director Hansen, Director Chris,
Yes.
Tasha Alstrand,
Yes.
and Chair Hashak.
Yes. Okay, so that passed. Okay, so we'll move on to public expression. Item number 10 for items not on the agenda.
Good afternoon. My name is Gizmo. I have a question for Caltrans, and I'm going to go ahead and just relay the question, and maybe they can fill us in on 13A. If there was going to be continual connection with fire and Caltrans and the CHP to burn the freeway edge to reduce the fuel during the summertime.
Yeah, and I'll just respond to that. I have talked to Chief Gunn from the Mendocino unit for CAL FIRE, and also with Director Alstrand, and we've connected them because Chief Gunn has an idea about more efficient way of doing that burn. So they want to do the burn. They're just trying to figure out a more efficient way of doing it.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you.
All right, any other public expression? Any online? All right, moving on to the regular calendar. Item number 11, which goes back to number 3. So, James Suckney.
As we already mentioned, this item is going to be continued to the May meeting, since we have to make some revisions to the RENA methodology.
Okay, so that will come back in May?
Oh, it'll come back in May. We do have a final version on the website that's incorporated comments. It's got all of the appendices included in it. And it's there for anyone's reading pleasure.
Okay. Let's see. So we're going to continue this on to May. If there's any public comment on item number 11, we'll take it now. Seeing none in the chambers, any online? All right. Okay, so moving on to item number 12, recess as a policy advisory committee. Will reconvene as a regional transportation planning agency. Ratify the action of the policy advisory committee. Is there a motion to ratify the actions that we've just taken?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All right, any public comment? We already discussed it. So, okay, any online? All right, so we'll vote. Do a roll call vote, please. This is, well,
Director Raffinen,
Yes.
Director Mulhern, Director Alanis,
Yes.
Director Chris,
Yes.
Tasha Alstrand. Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Chair Hashak,
yes.
that passed.
Okay. Let's see. Going back to item 11. So do we have anything for the regional transportation plan? You know, we talked about the RENA. I guess I'm a bit confused right now.
Okay, so the update that James gave for item 11 was about the regional transportation plan. The updated plan that he mentioned that is available on the website was the regional transportation plan and active transportation plan. Other than that, there hasn't really been, much of a change since the previous meetings when we've discussed it, because we're really just sort of in this waiting game with HCD at this point. But we did get, and the appendices that were not available at the time of the last meeting are now available on the website as well.
Okay, so we're all good.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to reports. Okay, so this is for information. Caltrans report.
I do have a few things that I'd like to share. There are several funding opportunities that are either currently open or about to open, and some are getting ready to announce. There's the US DOT Safe Streets for All program, and applications are due May 26th. The Active Transportation Program applications are due June 22nd. Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program TIRCIP applications are due May 18th. The Urban Greening Program should open in May, and award announcements for the fiscal year 26-27 Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program should be in May or June. And this year we will be updating the grant guide, and so our partners will have an opportunity to provide feedback on that. Feasibility studies. Caltrans District 1 was awarded 3 fiscal year 2025-26 feasibility studies. One of those is for climate planning work in Mendocino County. It's the Seaside, Creek, Beach, Roadway, and Culvert improvements on Men 1. The feasibility study will be wrapped up in June 2027, and additional feasibility study using Protect funds will also begin work in the new fiscal year, and that's for the Mendocino State Route 128 flood and feasibility study. The Caltrans District Transit Plan, we're moving into phase 2 of engagement, where we will be re-engaging with our transit operators and RTPAs to seek information about what was heard during engagement last fall, validating what the data shows, and begin identifying potential solutions for transit needs on the state highway system. So those meeting invites should be going out soon. We're hoping you can participate. The Transit Policy Implementation Action Plan. Caltrans headquarters is hosting a series of focus groups to inform the Transit Implementation Action Plan, and outcomes will provide direction for incorporating transit into the state highway system through interagency coordination. The Caltrans Climate Vulnerability Assessment. We're still waiting on the release of the draft vulnerability statewide summary report. It should be happening this spring. And the Caltrans Division of Data and Digital Services is developing a mapping component for these reports. The annual 2026 Caltrans District 1 Tribal Transportation Summit. The summit for Lake and Mendocino counties will be held on May 21st at the Middletown Rancheria of Pohomo Indians. And the first Caltrans District 1 Transportation Planning Open House will be hosting 2 open houses this summer to highlight the work that we're doing in transportation planning. There'll be one in Eureka in June and the other in Ukiah in July. They'll be 5:30 to 7 p.m., but the location is still TBD. So we'll keep you posted, but the topics to be covered include the Interregional Transportation Strategic Plan, the California Transportation Plan, the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant, District Transit Plan, and the Corridor Management Plan. So we'll be providing more information as it's available. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the Mendocino Transit Authority. Is Jacob on?
I don't see Jacob, but I can report one item under this. We are working with MTA on a grant application for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. That was one of the programs that Tasha just mentioned, to secure funding for MTA for a Ukiah area transit center. And this would be at the courthouse, near the new courthouse location, which was one of the top locations in the feasibility study that we did a couple of years ago. So those will be due in the next couple of months, and working also with the city of Ukiah and an affordable or a senior housing developer for the project to be a mixed-use project. So that'll be something coming up.
Yeah, and Director Alanis and I are on the MTA board, and we heard about that, and I think that this will be an issue in tomorrow's Board of Supervisors meeting too. Okay, moving on to the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Director Mulherin, would you like to report anything?
Sure. Well, the Great River Trail Agency approved the master plan document. So that happened at our regularly scheduled meeting, and there weren't balloons or fireworks or anything like that. But it was still very exciting, I think, opportunity for that project to move forward. And then on April 25th, there will be a grand opening celebration for phase 4 of the Great River Trail that will take place near the intersection of Airport Park Boulevard and I'm not sure what else. I can give you the address. It's in front of Emerald Sun. There will be a ribbon cutting and some speeches, and I think also a little 5K fun run. So great opportunity for the public that hasn't tried the new section of the Great River Trail to come out and give it a try. Do you want to add anything?
Just that the master plan is, it is a major milestone for the Great Redwood Trail, and it's 738 pages long, and it's available, if you Google Great Redwood Trail Master Plan, you can find it there, and it has everything about the planning, construction, and management of the future Great Redwood Trail. Got a lot of great information there. Right, thank you. MCOG staff. Summary of meetings.
Right, you have the written summary of meetings in the packet. I do not have anything to add, but we are happy to answer questions.
Okay. Not seeing any questions?
All right, we can go on to the next item then, which is a report on the draft 26-27 RTPA and COG budget, and Michael will be taking this item.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this is pretty much an overview of the budget process as well as where we're at in the process. So the first step includes, for the annual budget development, staff prepares a draft budget which anticipates the anticipated revenues and expenditures for the coming year. The executive committee meets in February to review and recommend the further development and to release the annual area apportionment notice for claimants by March 1, as required by the Transportation Development Act. Included in the budget, you can see in the staff report, we have the LTF reserve and fund balance for $639,000, which is 15% of the auditor's estimate, triple the minimum percentage. We have $613,366 for LTF for administrative costs. In the 2% bike and ped program, we have $72,913 and $125,000 of new LTF for planning program. And then the remainder of the LTF amounts, which is $3,565,429 for the MTA operations. Beyond the LTF, the budget incorporates, any OWP planning grants, allocation from the SB 125, transit capital funding, previously approved in MCOG's allocation plan, allocation for the surface transportation block grant program, which is, it's a formula-based distribution. The area apportionment notice was mailed to eligible claimants on March 2nd, although it is required March 1st. March 1st fell on a Sunday this year, so we were allowed to submit it March 2nd. The next budget goes to the Transit Productivity Committee for review and recommendation of Mendocino Transit Authority's claim, annual claim, and any unmet transit needs considered reasonable to meet. A budget workshop is scheduled for our board meeting on May 4th for action at the June 1st meeting. You guys have any questions?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you, Michael, and thank you to the executive committee of Director Chris and Director Raffanon and myself of participating in that and going over the budget and your first budget go-around. So I really appreciate the work you put into it and appreciate all the staff and Janet Orth coming back and helping too. So it's a big process, and we'll see more of it next meeting. Thank you. Moving on to any miscellaneous. Yeah. Okay, come on up.
I'd just like to confirm with Caltrans, the Middletown, the casino, the date and the time. And Patricia, you're welcome to call me if you want with that. The second thing is, I know we're going to probably speak about this tomorrow, but B, the Transit Authority, the MTA Transit Authority, the feasibility study, I don't agree with the feasibility study. I don't think we should be putting the transit mall in the middle of Ukiah. I think it has to do with money and bringing revenue into that district. And I think that District 1 has been overlooked, and that we should take more time to look at where we're going to put the public transit mall as far as servicing the whole county. People as far as Laytonville and Leggett might not want to come all the way into Ukiah to pick loved ones up or access the public transit mall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Alstrand, did you have a answer to the date in Middletown?
Yeah, let's see. It is May 21st.
All right,
And
thank you.
Gizmo, I can call you, and if you have any other questions, feel free to give me a call.
Okay. Right. Moving on, the next meeting date is May 4th. Okay, we'll have the budget workshop then. Hey, MCOG planning staff.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Alexis Pedrati, if you are not aware of that. I'm a project manager for the planning staff. I'm here today to just go over our 26-27 draft overall work program. You guys may recall we have gone over it slightly about a month ago or two, giving it, you guys went ahead and gave it recommendation to go ahead and be submitted to Caltrans for comment and review. This is your chance now to see what we submitted to Caltrans. So again, this process starts back in October. We get applications for the work program. They're reviewed by the TAC. It goes back to the TAC. The draft is reviewed. All of that fun stuff. This process runs quite a long time, all the way up till June. So you'll keep seeing my smiling face until June. And then I'll probably come back with an amendment. So anyways, the draft did go back to the Technical Advisory Committee for review and recommendation to move forward to be submitted to Caltrans by their deadline of February 27th, which was done. The draft work program was included for you guys to be able to look through and see just a quick overview. What was included in the 26-27 is MCOG planning staff work elements. We do have one new local agency project, one new MCOG-led planning project, and that was that's contingent on the grant approval. So that is a requirement of Caltrans that when we apply for a grant, that we put that in the work program showing as pending until we are officially notified. 3 potential carryover projects that are held as placeholders. They don't really have a dollar amount yet, but they are just potential carryover that we do expect to see. So the draft total is $697,284. We expect that to go up as we start to include some carryover. The one project, local agency project that we did receive an application for was to fund the County DOT combined special studies for a total of $56,000. So that was included in our draft that was submitted. The professional services contract with Davy Bates Consulting, which is for the MCOG planning staff. There's a couple of us, myself and James here today, and I believe one online. That remains an estimate in the draft. The final will be updated to have more of an accurate figure. DBC cost proposal was presented to the executive committee prior to the draft development, or after the draft development, and so these totals that are included in the draft that you see today are not reflective of what the MCOG executive committee saw and what was presented to them, so those will be reflected in the final once we get to that point. Also, really quickly, I think I did mention already, the submitted grant application, that was for the SR20 Willits Multimodal Circulation Intersection Improvement Study. That was through the Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program. Again, that is in there as a pending grant application. We won't hear for a couple months still whether we are awarded that grant or not. So currently there is just a placeholder for our local match requirement of $47,200. So once we are awarded the grant, you'll see tasks, you'll see the scope, and you'll see the grant funding be inserted in there. Also, I did mention that we do have a couple carryover projects that we do expect to see in 26-27. Things could change in the next couple months, but this is just us giving it a go for an estimation. Our Mendocino County Sea Level Rise Roadway Impact Study, we expect that to trickle into the fall a little bit, so that will be carried over. Our Regional Vehicle Miles Traveled Mitigation Program, that is just getting underway, and I am taking all of Hector's report here in just a minute. So that's just getting underway, and so we do expect that to be carried over as well. And then also the pavement management program update. We do expect that also to trickle into the fall, hopefully not too far into the 26-27, but we do have a placeholder for it if we need it. Those, as I mentioned, will be reflected in the final with some estimates. So you'll just see zeros and just placeholders at this point. In my staff report, when I wrote my report, I said that Caltrans is currently reviewing the draft and we expect comments back in a few weeks. We did receive our comment letter, so I'm able to start addressing some of those comments from Caltrans and start working to develop the final work program, which will be presented to the Technical Advisory Committee in April and then brought back to the board in May for final approval. I am happy to answer any questions or go further into the overall work program. Some of the really helpful spots for you guys to look at are some of the spreadsheets in the work program. Gives you a real overview of what you can see for the work elements, and then further into the document breaks it down task by task into the work elements themselves. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. There's no action today. This is just a report.
Seeing no questions from the board? Thank you, Alexis.
You're welcome.
And for the work element 5 and work element 11, I think we're turning to Hector.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hector Ortega, project analyst with the Mendocino Council of Governments, or MCOG, and I'm going to provide a brief summary and a brief update of our projects, starting with work element number 5, Mendocino County Sea Level Rise Roadway Impact Study. MCOG staff and the consultant team are currently collecting and analyzing community input using key ranking criteria such as roadway usage, vulnerability, network importance, feasibility, and public input in order to identify 5 priority sites for further technical analysis. In our beginning round of community input, we put out a survey which was running from December 18 of 2025 to February 16 of 2026, and we received a total of 130 community responses. And the initial survey results indicated that Point Cabrillo Drive, Old Coast Road, or Old Coast Highway, Port Road, and Lighthouse Road are seen as top priorities. Some of the key concerns that were highlighted in the survey by respondents were bluff erosion, flooding, roadway failures, and maintaining emergency access. Additional outreach was conducted by MCOG staff and the consultant team through public workshops held on March 25th in Point Arena, March 26th in Fort Bragg, and a virtual workshop on March 31st. The input from these workshops is currently being reviewed and compiled. Following the completion of the prioritization process, the consultant team will conduct the more technical analysis of the 5 selected sites, and this work will include identifying potential adaptation strategies such as roadway elevation realignment, shoreline stabilization along with developing conceptual cost estimates and evaluating overall feasibility. Any questions on that one?
Seeing none?
Okay, moving on to work element 11, the pavement management program update. The pavement management program contract with Nichols Consultant Engineers, or NCE, has been fully executed, and all of our participating agencies were asked to provide access to their street saver databases in advance of our first project kickoff meeting. Access was gracefully granted by all the agencies, and the consultant was able to evaluate and update all of the databases. So that's good. In early of March 2026, MCOG was informed by ARRB Systems that their data collection vehicle had been involved in a minor accident, and this resulted in a minor delay for the project. According to ARRB's latest update, the collection vehicle was scheduled to arrive in the county on March 27th and began conducting field operations, including through the weekends for the next 28 days. We did have our first project status meeting on April 1st of 2026, in which we received an update from ARRB regarding the progress they had made so far. And their field data collection did begin March 27 as expected, and the data collection for the city of Fort Bragg has been completed. And as of March 30th of 2026, the city of Willits was about 41% complete. By now, we can expect that to be finished. Our ARB will proceed with the data collection on county maintained roads, followed by the city of Ukiah. Depending on weather conditions, all of the data collections anticipated to be finished within the next 30 days. So yeah, right around by the end of April. Our next project status meeting will be on May 6th of 2026. And at that point, we will receive more to update the board with. So any questions on that?
No questions from the board.
Alrighty, no action is required at this time. This is just simply informational and to give you an opportunity to ask any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the Northern Rural Energy Network. Orion Walker. We're waiting for you.
How's it going, folks? Well, I guess the main highlight from to give there would be we had a really successful training event about 3 weeks ago in cooperation with Pace Supply. So it was on heat pump technology, and we had a morning session and an afternoon session, and then a lunch with some demonstration giveaways for the contractors. And we had really good attendance. About 25 local contractors were there. We got really strong positive feedback from the event. So that was sort of the kickoff of our education and training activities, and it was a real strong start. So happy about that. Have another collaborative event coming up in a couple of weeks with North Coast Builders Exchange and the college, with the local high school group, the seniors that go through a construction core program. We'll be helping them build out their content for their HVAC and energy efficiency day. So let's see, in other news, we attended the Education and Employment Summit. Saw you there. Thought that was a very positive event. A lot of good networking and good conversations that we're following up with on various contacts there. We're in the soft launch phase of our public services program, working with school districts and municipalities to do benchmarking and assessments and referrals and project support. So just getting our toes wet on that program, and we've been talking to a couple of school districts as a first step there. Educational outreach is ongoing. We're headed into the season where we'll be out and about at lots of public events, tabling and giving away our kits and signing folks up for the home assessments. We'll be rolling out in-person home assessments to complement our phone-based home assessments. And let's see, that's about the most of the news to report. We did get Frontier, our consultant, gave us their recommendations on our finance program. And so we're in the midst of looking at those recommendations and figuring out how to incorporate some of the feedback that they've given us about what may or may not work for a financing program as part of our efforts. So I think that's a pretty good overview of what NREN's up to at the moment. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Right. Well, thank you. And, you know, I think that the workforce development is key to making all of this happen. And so really great to hear that, you know, with the heat pumps that there's 25 people showing up, and that's really good news. One question is about the Earth Day celebrations that are coming up. Are you planning on attending any of those events throughout the county?
Yes, we'll be at least at the one that I know that we're planning to be at so far is over in Fort Bragg. At the, I'm forgetting the name of it right now. They've been doing it for years over there. And we're looking at a couple of others in the general time frame vicinity because there are quite a few going on.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Gizmo, you have a question? Come on up to the microphone.
Thank you. Sorry. My question is, the North Coast Builders Exchange project, is that at the fairgrounds on the 14th?
To be official? No, the North Coast Builders Exchange program is a part of the construction corps that they do with local high schools every year, where seniors are introduced to the trades and work on different projects throughout their senior year. And so we're just incorporating an HVAC and energy efficiency day this time around. There is another event.
Job fair.
Yeah, there is that job fair event coming up. I think that's in May, though, if we're thinking of the same one, and we are planning to be a part of that one.
Right. Okay, thank you. Let's see, so we're moving on to MCOG directors. Any director reports? Let's see. Director Rafanan?
All quiet on this side.
All right. Okay. Just one thing from the Board of Supervisors is that we did approve continued exploration of a sales tax item for the November election for road maintenance. And so that was based on the survey that MCOG did in the fall. And so we sent county council to do more exploration on what that would look like, and Department of Transportation also about a list of priority projects. All right. And seeing no further comments from the directors, we'll go on to the CalCog, California Association of Councils of Governments report. Director Chris.
All right. So I went to the Regional Leadership Forum March 9th through 11th, and the CalCog board was on March 9th. And we approved the authorization for them to establish a 501c3 organization, which will help them raise money as a nonprofit and access money that they weren't previously allowed to access. We talked about the Regional Infrastructure Accelerator Grant, which is a lot about like the tolls and road expressways and stuff in higher population areas. We reviewed the legislative updates, AB 2002, requests funding to support the regional housing needs allocation obligations to jurisdictions, and because it's an unfunded mandate. And so CalCog is a co-sponsor of that legislation. SB 908 is the transit-oriented development, and it's requirements of upzoning on transit stations and required mapping by July 1st. And CalCog opposes this, and it's for reasons they want some amendments for clarity and adjusted for jurisdiction size, like the geographical size and population adjustments. AB 1421, Vehicle Road Usage Charge Advisory Committee. There's a bill, and some people are confused because they think it's authorizing fees from road users, and it's not. It's just gathering the existing study information, research, and making a recommendation for either a mileage-based fee system or a road user charge. And CalCog is in support of that. And then SB 979 is the housing element RENA judicial review. And that bill subjects the local COGs to a judicial review if a jurisdiction appeals the result of an appeal, so that the RENA determination would then go to the review, and CalCog is in opposition of that. And then we also talked a lot about the SB 375 reform, which really just impacts the largest the 18 largest metropolitan planning organizations, but it can impact the state's approach to sustainable community strategies and greenhouse gas reduction, and the modernization of the statute supporting implementation of the RTP, housing, climate goals, and then other goals. That's what we talked about.
Right.
And the rest of the forum, there was 2 full days of different sessions, and it was lots of information, lots of like innovative thinking and planning for future cities. Some of it was driven by like AI and some other stuff, so it was really interesting what could be in
Yeah, thank you for that. I always appreciated those kind of discussions there to talk about what people are really thinking about as far as transit and transportation and all those issues going on in the state. We don't see it so much in our rural areas, but in the big metropolitan areas of California, there's a lot going on. So, okay, thank you. And thank you for making the trip to Long Beach.
Yes, it was a long one.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, with that, I think we're ready to adjourn the meeting at 2:15. Okay, we'll call the meeting
Thank you, everyone.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, so you're gonna miss your board meeting tomorrow. Oh. Okay. Well, there weren't any agenda items.